Hey, welcome. This week's topic is dating with CF. And because my wife and I have been married for 9.5 years now, 10 this July, I haven't really dated in a while. So I thought I would switch it up a little bit and ask for my wife's opinion, Julie, what her thoughts are of dating someone with CF since she did that. And now, sort of more important to the two of us, is her as a mom, support person, and caregiver to me when I get sick. So I will let her sort of give you the idea of what it's like to date somebody with CF.
I got cystic fibrosis. See, I've got cystic fibrosis.
Hi, my name's Julie. I'm Chad's wife, and although it's been a while since we were dating, he asked me to talk to all of you about what it was like from my perspective to be dating and now married with someone with cystic fibrosis. We met at Wittenberg University, which is in Springfield. Chad was a senior when I was a junior. Both of us were working at a super local watering hole called Station 1. And Chad, who was my superior, asked me on a date, and he had been a kind and funny and supportive friend and colleague, I guess. To me, that sounds too formal, but so one of my good friends who was in a sorority and I were talking before Chad and I were going on one of our first or second dates, and she told me, you know, Chad has CF, right? And I didn't even know what CF was. So I said no, and she said, well, it's cystic fibrosis. And she didn't know much beyond that, but she knew it was a big deal. And I said, okay. And I hadn't noticed anything different about Chad health-wise yet, so I didn't really let it faze me too much. A few months later, we went to Virginia, where his parents lived, because they were hosting, and still co-host now, the Joker's Wild Casino Night, which is put on through the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation DC chapter. And I remember we went back, and I was standing in the kitchen with Chad's mom, and I looked at her and I said, so what is CF? And I can't imagine all the things that went through her mind at the time, because here I was, a date that I don't think Chad had brought many dates home back to Virginia yet. And we're going to a fundraiser for cystic fibrosis, and here's this just doe-eyed girl, me, asking her, what is this? And she explained to me in brief terms what CF does to a body and how it can be limiting. And at that time, I really hadn't noticed that Chad was limited in any way, and he was very healthy still. And we went to the fundraiser. It's still held in February every year. If you're local, you should come. And we had a wonderful time. One of the first times I realized that CF had a bigger impact were when I started to go to Chad's clinics appointments with him. I think we were engaged when I started to do that, and I learned a lot from the doctors and from the clinic at Johns Hopkins, and all the people there, along with Chad, were super supportive and open and welcoming with my questions. And if you are dating someone with CF, or you're a CF patient with a significant other, that would be something that was super eye-opening to me. Having a free space to ask questions, I was able to talk with Chad in the room and out of the room to really learn what this means, what this might mean in the future, and how I can be a supportive person. I also remember the first time I put on Chad's vest. After sitting with him doing treatments for a very long time, I realized I'd never put it on. That's something, if you're in any kind of caregiving role or supportive role for CF patients, I would suggest you do. It hurts, and I was really surprised. I don't need to tell you if you have CF that it can hurt, but that would be something that it would give really nice perspective to your support people. As we progressed in our relationship, what CF would limit and impact our life started to make more of a difference. After we were married, Chad was in the hospital for the first time, and that's when I really needed to rise and figure out how I can support him and his parents and me and do all the right things for him, but also doing the right things for me. And as a significant other of a CF person, that's another thing that I would strongly advocate. You need your own support people too, so that when days are really hard, you can just say, it's really hard and this is hard. But most days aren't like that. Most days you would never know that CF has as big of an impact in our life as it does. When you're in a relationship with a CF patient, I've learned that time doesn't work like it does for other couples, and that can be tricky. The amount of time it takes our family to get out the door is much longer than a normal family because Chad has significant treatment time. And if we need to get out of the house by 9, that means Chad's up 3 or 4 hours earlier so that he can be ready to go. So keeping expectations for family and friends has been something that I have to work to strive on, so Chad doesn't feel upset or like he's holding everyone back, because he needs to feel like his treatments are maybe not the most, maybe the most important thing for him to be doing, but definitely a non-issue. He needs to feel like he is able and not holding people back when he is taking care of his body, because that really is the most important thing. That can be extremely tricky on vacation, when a lot of people are ready to get up and go or make plans and do things like that. Remembering that there's treatment time in the beginning of the day and the end of the day is really hard. And so as the support person or as the dater or wife of Chad, I need to make sure that everyone has good expectations so that Chad's able to have a good time and also do his treatments, and everyone else is also understanding of the time commitments that takes. The day-to-day of supporting Chad and being his date person, that sounds so silly, his wife, is not a big deal. We might walk a little slower from time to time because if Chad's having a harder day, our family will walk slower. Or if there's a big hill, we'll try and find a way to go around it slowly on certain days, or on days that Chad's feeling good, we tackle it as a family and are proud of ourselves when we get on the top of that hill. Sometimes when you're walking with people who are less perceptive or aware of CF, it can be a little tricky because you want to let everybody feel like they're doing the right thing. So Chad will keep his pace and the other people will go a little faster, and I try and merge the gap and make sure that Chad doesn't feel like he's going too slow and the other people also realize that their pace is fine. We just might need to go a little bit slower that day. Before we had children, it was important still, as it is now, that Chad had time to do his treatments. And that was a great time for me as the support person to go for a run or take care of myself or do personal things. Just like personal time is healthy in all relationships, treatments really make it so that you can either sit together and watch a movie and do those things, or in the mornings I'm often off on my own before we had children, taking a run, taking care of errands, and just doing things that I liked to do. Chad asked me to answer if I was going to do it all again, would I, with a CF patient? And of course. I was once told, you don't choose who you love. And Chad is definitely the person I love, and you know if you're in the relationship for the right reasons that there's no way you would trade the life you're living, and that's how I feel. Having a husband with CF can make things difficult at times, but it also brings out empathy and support and love and gives our family a relationship that we wouldn't have otherwise. And I love the family I have, and I love the husband I have. And I loved the man I was dating back when we were dating too. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of the CF family. Cheers.
I got cystic fibrosis. See, I've got cystic fibrosis.